Do we pay our children to help with our business? How do we keep our business organized? And how do we manage having a business and being married and still having time for each other? In today's video, I'm going to dive into all of your questions that you sent over on Instagram. And if you missed part 1 of the Q&A, definitely check it out. I'll leave it in the description. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan Jarris, and I'm an Etsy seller of about 7 years. I've sold over $1.5 million in revenue on the platform, over $1 million in profit. And my entire background is corporate e-commerce, where I worked for big companies like Zappos and Zulily. And now I teach Etsy sellers just like you how to build multi-six-figure businesses. So if you're interested in my help with your shop, definitely schedule a free call with us below. You can talk to my team and we can actually show you inside the program so you can see what it looks like and decide for yourself if it's something you're interested in. All right, let's dive into the Q&A. And before we get started, if you like videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to us. All right, someone asks tips for increasing digital download sales on the weekends. My customer seems to buy more during the week because their profession keeps them busy on the weekends, but I don't want to miss out on that weekend revenue. Honestly, my advice here is really to lean into what's working. So if your customer is shopping more during the week, then try to sell more during the week to make up for the slower sales on the weekends. If your customer truly is not shopping on Etsy on the weekends, I would not try to force it. I would lean into what's working and align your business with their current habits. Advice for selling jewelry on Etsy. Do you know your MBTI? Okay, so for selling jewelry on Etsy, you definitely want to differentiate and you have to pack value into your listing photos. So I noticed this over and over again with people selling jewelry. Their listing photos almost can cheapen the actual product and the perception of the value. With your listing photos, you have got to make it obvious that this is not, jewelry that you've imported from China and that you're reselling. If you are actually selling high quality jewelry, you've got to make that super, super obvious. Packing that value into the listing photo, that's one way that we do it. And then the MBTI. So last time I took that test, it was in college. So it was probably about, it was over 10 years ago. And I was INTJ, but I think the secondary one was ENTJ. So INTJ is innovative, independent, strategic, logical, reserved, insightful, driven by their own original ideas to achieve improvements. So that's pretty much true. All right, tips for not getting into trouble for copyright infringement. See lots of people selling personalized Stanley cups on Etsy. How do you get permission or licenses from these companies, i.e. Stanley, to resell their products or use their products in your listings to sell your product associated with their brand? Do you cover this in your coaching? Any amount of profit is not worth the risk of legal consequences or losing your shop entirely. Would love to hear your advice. So yes, in our coaching, we do cover not violating trademarks. We definitely don't want to be doing that, but there is a lot of gray area of what you can do if you are altering items. If you do need help with this, let me know. I do cover this in my coaching. I help you with this one-on-one. What is your recommendation on international shipping? Do it, don't. Any tips on that? Absolutely do it. Now, the one exception would be if your items are highly, highly breakable, then I might reconsider if it's going to be more of a headache than not. But really, international shipping can really open you up to a whole new market. And oftentimes you might think, oh, no one's going to want to pay $30 to have a $20 item shipped. Well, they actually are willing to oftentimes. So do not prejudge the situation with international shipping. I think it's really worth testing. And it's a great way to scale your revenue and your margin. You can actually increase your margin on those international orders if you set it up correctly. Since your cute little boy seems to be helping in your business, do you pay him and contribute to a Roth IRA for him? If so, any tips on what to be aware of? My oldest son is 5. We're a bit more conservative when it comes to playing in the gray area with the IRS. Let's just say that. So no, we're not paying him right now, but we'll definitely start paying him shortly. Up until now, we've just been focusing on a 529 plan for him, for both of the boys. But right now, yeah, we're not paying him yet, but pretty soon. Does the physical packaging of an order matter? Do customers value pretty packaging? Thanks again. Okay, yes, packaging does matter. You want the packaging to match the overall value proposition that you're presenting. So if you're selling something that is $200, you don't want to probably be shipping it in like a reused Amazon box, okay? But if you're selling something that's like, $3, sure, maybe it's okay to ship it in a reused Amazon box. Basically, you want the packaging to really align with the perceived value of the item. So for me, reusing boxes, that's a prime example of this. Certain customers, I will reuse boxes. Other things, there's no way I would reuse a box. And when I do reuse boxes, something I'll do is add a sticker that says, we're like super eco-friendly. That helps a little bit too. It just covers you in case someone receives it and isn't a fan of the reused packaging. Okay, what is the best way to stay organized with your business? Is it lists, Planning days, thank you. So this is something I'm really big on, is not doing planning days, okay? Planning should never take the place of action. So really, any type of prep, it's quick, it's efficient, it's somewhere I can see it. I'm not one of those people who has a 100-page planner with all these different categories and classifications and color coding. To me, that's a waste of my time. So for me, I use my Google Calendar and I have it synced to my phone. So I know kind of what things are on fire the next day that I have to take care of. So the must-dos I have on my calendar. Outside of that, I have a pretty basic, straightforward routine of things that I have to do every day that I will not miss. So like in the morning, first thing when I wake up, 6 o'clock, if anything's on fire in the email, I will put that out. And then I'll get ready, get the kids ready, get them to school, come home, get right on calls within about 5 minutes of getting home from dropping them off. And then I'm coaching and I'm on calls and I'm making content like this for you guys all day. I'm also meeting with my team. Our team's growing, so we're having team meetings. I'm accessible to them all day as well for all their questions. All those things are the must-dos that happen every day. Everything else, unless it's on fire, I'm not putting it on my list. But I think planning can oftentimes become a big excuse for not taking action. If you get stuck in the planning and you're all about the planning, but you never actually do anything, then that planning was a total waste of time. My saying is put the food in the oven before it's preheated, right? Just get it done. There's very little when it comes to Etsy that requires a full planning day. I can't even think of like an Etsy shop that I know of out of our 800 students where it would make sense for them to be spending a whole day planning. So never let planning take the place of action. Okay, best way to drive more traffic to your shop. Already doing Facebook and Pinterest. I'm curious what you're doing on Facebook because Facebook strategy is my fastest working social media strategy. If you are talking about you're on Facebook and you have like a business page and you're just like posting some things, it might drive a little traffic, but it's not going to drive a ton of traffic. I would be doubling down on the Facebook strategy and doing it in different ways. So our strategy with Facebook, it's really like a 3-pronged approach to take and it works really well. You should be spending more time doing that based on this question. Now Instagram and TikTok are other things you could explore. It totally depends on your product, what you're selling. I would probably double down on Facebook, do it in more ways, different ways, better ways. Okay, when a customer puts something in a cart, what are the considerations? Well, I always ask, is there any friction in the purchasing process? If they're adding it to the cart and they're not checking out, there's something wrong. So we want to convert those add to carts as much as possible. And it's usually going to be something in your listing that is the reason for them not converting. I always go right to the listing. I have my checklist of things that I look at to know, okay, where's the friction? There's something going on here. So we always identify what the problem is in the listing itself to convert them. All right, how long have you both been married? How do you balance life and still find time for each other? I'm wondering if I should disclose a big secret. So our wedding was on July 1st, 2016. So we're coming up on 7 years and we met about a year and a half before that. Now that was our wedding, but little secret, because we're military, there are many different benefits for being married earlier, potentially. So we actually got married on March 2nd. So it was about 4 months before our wedding was when we actually got married. We didn't tell many people this. It was funny because we really did not want it to be our wedding. We did not want to call it our wedding. We're like, okay, we're just going to do the paperwork, get married on paper. We really wanted to keep it very married on paper. So we went to the courthouse in San Diego. It wasn't open yet. We didn't want to wait outside. It was kind of cold. So we went across the street to a hotel. It was like the Hampton Inn or something. And we ate their continental breakfast. We weren't even staying there. And then we went across the street and did the whole, wedding thing. And we thought it would just be sitting at a desk, signing the papers. They took us to this room that looked like, a little chapel, like you're in Vegas or something. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to remember our wedding like this. We did it. We just, we both knew we didn't want to think of that as our wedding day, but that's when we actually got married. And then how do we balance life and find time for each other? Well, it's an interesting situation because he works probably 8 a.m. to maybe 2, 3 p.m. I'm usually on calls helping students when he picks up the kids. So he gets home around 4:30 with the kids and we really have, the whole evenings together. And then as soon as the kids go to bed, we're working together. So in terms of balancing life, we're really teammates. I really see us as, we're two workhorses and we are going at it. We fuel each other. We motivate each other. We both work just as hard. So in terms of balancing each other, I think we complement each other very well. And how we spend time together, it's usually working and it's because we want to. So because we've integrated work into our personal life and our marriage so tightly, we're really a team. We're both the founders really of our businesses and that's how we integrate it. We don't really keep it separate from our marriage. We keep everything all together and it's it's been working really well. Long term, eventually, my husband's going to be out of the military in a couple of years, and it very well could be that we are both doing this together, working on the same businesses together. And I could see him maybe doing his own thing with real estate, driving that a bit more himself. But when it comes to balancing it all with our marriage, it's really all blended. So for better or worse, maybe some people think, oh, that's terrible, you should have a clear separation, but it's been working really well. And it's really fun because we're building our dreams together. So we're not having one person working on one thing, the other person working on the other thing. We don't talk about work. Everything's intertwined and it's fun. It's really fun and exciting. And if anything, work is something that does keep us very connected. Well, I hope you enjoyed the rest of this Q&A. If you have questions you would like answered in the next Q&A, let us know and just leave it in the comments and we will save those and address them in the next Q&A. All right, if you liked the video, please subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.